The transport ship docked at Kepler Station with a soft hiss. Inside the massive space station, thousands of beings from across the galaxy moved through the corridors. Some walked on two legs, others floated in water suits, and a few rolled on. Mechanical platforms. All of them were here for the same reason, to attend the most important military academy in known space. Jake Martinez stepped off the transport and looked around. The station was bigger than any city he had ever seen. Glowing signs in dozens of languages pointed in different directions. The air smelled different here, cleaner, but somehow empty. He missed the smell of Earth's forests and oceans behind. Lisa Thompson carried her single bag over her shoulder. She had packed light, just like her training had taught her. The Navy had prepared her for many things, but nothing quite like this. Alien beings stared at her as she walked past. Some pointed at her with appendages that looked nothing like human. Hans. Kevin Brooks brought up the rear of their small group. The Air Force pilot kept his eyes moving, taking in every detail. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's, making each step feel like a small bounce. The other species seemed to move normally, which meant this was standard for them. "Welcome to the Galactic Military Academy," said a voice behind them. They turned to see a tall, crystal-like being approaching. Its body looked like it was made of blue glass, and light seemed to move through it when it spoke. "I am Commander Vex High. You must be the human cadets." The three humans nodded. They had been briefed about the different species they would meet. The Zephyrians were made of living crystal and were known for their logical thinking. This one seemed to be studying them like they were interesting specimens. "Follow me, Commander," Vex High said. "The other cadets are eager to meet you." They walked through corridors filled with alien technology. Screens showed star maps and tactical displays. Robot servants moved silently between the organic beings, carrying supplies and messages. Everything was clean, efficient, and somehow cold. The main assembly hall was enormous. Hundreds of cadets sat in rows, arranged by species. The Zephyrians clustered together, their crystal bodies creating small rainbows when the light hit them. The Vraxians were easy to spot. They looked like giant lizards that had learned to walk upright. Each one was at least 7 feet tall, with scales that changed color slightly as they moved. Near the back, the Nereids floated in large water tanks on wheels. They looked like a cross between dolphins and humans, with smooth skin and large, intelligent eyes. Their translation devices made soft clicking sounds as they communicated with each other. "As you can see," Commander Vex High said quietly, "your species is quite different." Jake noticed how the other cadets looked at them. Some seemed curious. Others appeared confused. A few looked like they felt sorry for the humans. He had seen that look before, pity mixed with disbelief. "Please, take your seats," Commander Vex High announced to the hall. "We will begin orientation now." The three humans found empty seats near the middle of the hall. Immediately, the cadets around them began whispering. Jake caught fragments of conversation through the translation devices everyone wore. "They look so fragile," said a Zephyrian cadet. "How did they survive long enough to develop space travel?" asked a Vraxian. "Their planet has higher gravity than standard," replied another. "Maybe that explains their strange build." Lisa kept her face neutral, but Jake could see her jaw tighten slightly. Kevin seemed more interested in the technology. Around them than the whispered comments, Commander Vex High activated a holographic display at the front of the hall. Images of famous battles and strategic formations appeared in the air above them. "War," the commander began, "is a science. It requires precise calculations, optimal resource allocation, and minimal casualties through superior technology. Here, at the Academy, you will learn to think like strategists, not like primitive warriors." The word primitive hung in the air. Jake felt several dozen pairs of alien eyes turned toward the human section. He kept his expression blank, but inside he was taking notes. These beings had never faced real war. They had only studied it. The presentation continued for 2 hours. Commander Vexhai explained the Academy's philosophy, the importance of following regulations, and the proper way to conduct military operations. Everything was about technology, rules, and careful planning. Your species, the commander said, looking directly at the humans, will need to adjust to our methods. We understand that your world has been ... chaotic. Here, we do things differently. After the presentation, the cadets were dismissed to their quarters. The 3 humans found themselves walking alone through the corridors as the other species moved in their own groups. Did you notice? Lisa asked quietly. Notice what? Kevin replied. They've never actually fought a war. Not a real one. Jake nodded. All their battles are simulations. All their strategies come from books. They think war is like a math problem. Maybe that works for them, Kevin said. Their technology is impressive. Technology is just tools, Jake replied. It doesn't replace experience. They reached their quarters, 3 small rooms connected by a common area. The furniture was designed to accommodate different body types, so everything looked strange and uncomfortable to human eyes. Get some rest, Lisa said. Something tells me tomorrow is going to be interesting. As they settled into their rooms, none of them noticed the small recording devices that had been placed throughout the human quarters. In a secure office elsewhere on the station, several alien officers watched the feeds with great interest. They seemed remarkably calm, observed. Dr. Kelthera, a Zephyrian scientist. Perhaps they do not understand what they have gotten themselves into, replied General Thrak, a veteran Vraxian officer. Or perhaps, said Admiral Coral, speaking through her translation device from her water tank, we do not understand what we have gotten ourselves into. The next morning would bring their first real test. But for now, the 3 humans from Earth slept peacefully, unaware that they were about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about war. The morning alarm sounded throughout the station at exactly 0600 hours. Jake Martinez was already awake, doing push-ups in his small room. The light gravity made the exercise feel too easy, so he had placed his mattress on his back for extra. Wait. Lisa Thompson was reviewing star charts on her personal tablet, while Kevin Brooks was stretching by the window, looking out at the stars. All cadets report to Hangar Bay 7, announced a voice over the communication system. Prepare for survival exercise deployment. The 3 humans met in their common area. Each carried a small pack with basic supplies, water purification tablets, emergency rations, and a simple shelter kit. The other species had much larger packs filled with advanced equipment out in the hangar bay. The alien cadets clustered around their instructors, asking questions about the upcoming exercise. The humans stood quietly, listening and observing. Jake noticed that many of the aliens seemed nervous. The exercise is simple, announced Commander Vexhai. You will be dropped on Zerion Prime, a Class M planet with standard atmospheric conditions. The temperature ranges from 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere is breathable. Plant life is edible. You have 72 hours to establish a camp and signal for pickup. A holographic display showed the planet's surface. It looked like a cross between Earth's forests and grasslands, with rolling hills and clear streams. The alien cadets studied the display carefully, taking notes and making calculations. Any questions? Commander Vexhai asked. A Zephyrian cadet raised what might have been a hand. What are the predator patterns for this region? Minimal threat. The commander replied. The largest predators are the Zerion wolves, but they avoid contact with intelligent life forms. Weather patterns? Asked Evraxian. Stable. No storms expected during the exercise period. The humans exchanged glances. Lisa whispered, "Sounds like a camping trip." Kevin nodded. "Easier than survival training back home." "Much easier," Jake agreed. The transport ships were small, designed to carry 6 cadets each. The humans found themselves paired with 3 nereids, who required special water suits for the journey. The aquatic beings seemed fascinated by the humans. "Your species breathes air all the time?" asked one of the nereids through her translation device. "Yes," Lisa replied. "We evolved on land. How do you not suffocate? How do you not drown?" Kevin asked back. The nereids seemed to find this amusing. Their clicking laughter filled the transport ship as they descended toward the planet's surface. Zarian Prime was beautiful. The sky was a pale blue, and the grass was green with a slight purple tint. The air was clean and warm, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers. The landing zone was a flat meadow surrounded by forests. The alien cadets immediately began unpacking their equipment. The Zephyrians assembled sophisticated shelter units that looked like small buildings. The Vraxians set up energy barriers around their camp. The nereids created a complex water filtration system. The humans looked around and shrugged. Jake found a spot near the tree line and began gathering stones. Lisa started collecting dry wood from the forest floor. Kevin walked to the nearby stream and knelt by the water, studying the fish swimming in the clear water. "What are you doing?" asked Zara, one of the nereids. She watched Jake arrange stones in a circle. "Building a fire pit," Jake replied. "Why?" "Your emergency kit contains thermal units. This is more reliable." Lisa returned with an armload of wood. She had also collected several plants that she recognized as edible. "The berries are ripe," she told her companions. "And there are root vegetables by the stream. You can identify food plants?" Zara asked, amazed. "Basic survival skill," Lisa said. "We learned it as children." Kevin had been watching the stream carefully. Suddenly, he moved with lightning speed, plunging his hands into the water. When he pulled them out, he was holding a fish that was still wriggling. "Dinner," he announced simply. The alien cadets who had been watching stopped what they were doing. A Vraxian cadet approached slowly. "You caught that with your hands?" "Yes. Fish are predictable. You just have to be patient and fast." Within 2 hours, the humans had built a comfortable camp. They had a fire burning, fish cooking on wooden spits, and a shelter made from branches and leaves. The shelter was waterproof, wind-resistant, and perfectly camouflaged. The alien cadets were struggling with their advanced equipment. The Zephyrians' shelter unit had malfunctioned in the humidity. The Vraxians' energy barriers were draining their power cells too quickly. The nereids were having trouble with their water filtration system. "How did you learn to do this?" asked a young Zephyrian cadet named Crix. "Practice," Jake replied. "On Earth, we call this camping." "People do it. For fun? For fun?" Crix's crystal body flickered with confusion. "This environment is challenging. The temperature variations, the need to find food and shelter, the potential for predator encounters." "This is nothing," Lisa said. "Back home, we have places where the temperature drops to -40 degrees. Places where the wind can knock you down. Places where everything is trying to kill you." "That sounds terrible," Crix said. "It builds character," Kevin replied, turning the fish over the fire. Night fell quickly on Zarian Prime. The alien cadets huddled in their mechanical shelters, monitoring their equipment and checking their supplies. The humans sat around their fire, sharing the cooked fish and talking quietly. That's when they heard the howling. The sound echoed across the meadow, wild and haunting. The alien cadets immediately activated their emergency beacons, signaling for extraction. Their training had taught them that predator contact meant mission failure. The humans barely looked up. "Wolves," Jake said calmly. They're just talking to each other. Talking? Zara asked from her water tank shelter. Pack communication. There. Probably hunting something else entirely. The howling grew closer. Through the darkness, yellow eyes appeared at the edge of the forest. The Zarian wolves were massive, easily the size of Earth's largest dogs. They moved with the fluid grace of natural predators. The alien cadets were paralyzed with fear. There. Training had covered predator encounters, but always with the assumption that they would have advanced weapons and support teams. Jake stood up, slowly, and picked up a thick branch from their fire supply. He walked toward the wolves with steady, confident steps. "What are you doing?" Crix whispered urgently. "Establishing dominance," Jake replied without turning around. The pack leader stepped forward, its hackles raised. Jake raised the branch above his head and let out a roar that echoed across the meadow. The sound was primal, threatening, and utterly alien to the sophisticated species watching. The wolf pack leader stopped, studied this strange bipedal creature, and made a decision. It backed away, calling its pack with a series of low barks. Within minutes, the wolves had melted back into the forest. Jake returned to the fire and sat down. "They won't bother us again." "How did you know they would retreat?" Zara asked, her voice filled with awe. "Because they recognized something more dangerous than themselves," Jake replied. The next morning, the extraction ships arrived to find the alien cadets exhausted and demoralized. Many had spent the night awake, monitoring their failing equipment and listening for predator sounds. The humans were doing morning exercises by their fire, which had burned all night. They had caught more fish for breakfast and gathered fresh berries. They looked rested, healthy, and completely at ease. "How do you rate the exercise?" Commander Vex-High asked the humans as they prepared to return to the station. "Easy," Lisa replied. "Almost boring." "The predator encounter was handled well," the commander noted. "What predator encounter?" Kevin asked. That Commander Vex-High's crystal body flickered with confusion. "The wolves. They were recorded approaching your camp." "Oh, those," Jake said. "They were just curious. We let them know we weren't prey." As the transport ships lifted off from Zarian Prime, the alien cadets sat in stunned silence. They had just watched three beings from an unknown world treat their survival exercise like a pleasant vacation. In the command center of the space station, the instructors were reviewing the exercise footage. The humans had accomplished in hours what the other species struggled with for days. They had faced a predator encounter without fear, without technology, and without backup. "Perhaps," Dr. Kelthera said quietly, "we should learn more about this Earth before we continue their training." Other instructors agreed. Something told them that they were dealing with more than they had bargained for. The war games were the most important test at the Academy. Every species had representatives in the competition, and the results would determine which cadets advanced to officer training. The rules were simple. Teams would face each other in simulated combat scenarios using training weapons and monitored by advanced computers. Jake Martinez, Lisa Thompson, and Kevin Brooks sat in the briefing room with the other human cadets from different training groups. There were 12 humans total, the largest group Earth had ever sent to the Academy. The other species had much larger teams. The Zephyrians fielded 30 cadets. The Vraxians had 25, and the Nereids brought 18. "The first scenario will be urban combat," announced General Thrak, the Vraxian officer in charge of the war games. "Team Alpha will defend a city center against Team Beta's assault. Victory conditions are simple. Eliminate all enemy forces or capture the central objective." The humans had been assigned to Team Alpha alongside 6 Zephyrian cadets. Their opponents were a mixed force of Vraxians and Nereids, with advanced equipment and superior numbers. "The simulation will begin in 1 hour," General Thrak continued. Use this time to plan your strategy. The Zephyrian cadets immediately began creating detailed tactical plans. They drew maps, calculated firing angles, and assigned specific positions to each team member. Their leader, a cadet named Vexcall, was particularly thorough. "The humans will take positions here and here," Vexcall said, pointing to defensive positions on the map. "Your job is to hold these locations and follow our signals." Jake looked at the map and frowned. "These positions are too exposed. We'd be sitting ducks." "The calculations show they provide optimal fields of fire," Vexcall replied. "Calculations don't account for everything," Lisa said. "What about cover? Escape routes? Fallback positions?" "The plan is sound," Vexcall insisted. "We have studied all possible scenarios." Kevin shook his head. "Plans don't survive contact with the enemy." "What does that mean?" asked another Zephyrian. "Cadet, it means no plan is perfect," Jake explained. "The other team will do unexpected things. We need to be ready to adapt." The Zephyrians looked confused. In their culture, warfare was a precise science. Every move was calculated, every outcome predicted. The idea of improvising during combat was alien to them. When the simulation began, the humans were assigned to their designated positions in the mock city. The environment was incredibly detailed: buildings, streets, vehicles, and even civilian areas were all perfectly recreated. The training weapons would register hits on the monitoring system, and eliminated cadets would be transported out of the simulation. The enemy forces approached exactly as the Zephyrians had predicted. Vraxian heavy troops advanced down the main street, while Nereids in their mobile water tanks provided support from the flanks. It was a textbook assault formation. The Zephyrians opened fire from their calculated positions. Their energy weapons created brilliant flashes as they struck enemy shields. The exchange was precise, methodical, and completely predictable. That's when the humans disappeared. Jake had been assigned to defend a second-floor window. Instead, he was now moving through the building's maintenance tunnels. Lisa had abandoned her rooftop position and was working her way through the underground parking garage. Kevin had vanished entirely from his assigned location. "Where are the humans?" Vexcall demanded over the communication system. "They have left their positions," reported another Zephyrian. "They are no longer following the plan." "This is unacceptable," Vexcall said. "Return to your assigned positions immediately." The humans ignored the order. They had their own plan now. The first Vraxian casualty came from an unexpected direction. A cadet named Thogmar was advancing down an alley when something exploded near his feet. The simulation registered a direct hit from an improvised explosive device. Thogmar was eliminated and transported out, but no one had seen where the attack came from. "Sniper fire from the north building," reported a Nereid's cadet. But when the assault team turned their weapons toward the building, it was empty. More explosions followed. The human cadets had somehow turned ordinary simulation props into weapons. Construction materials became bombs. Vehicle fuel became accelerants. Even broken glass was weaponized. "They're using the environment against us," observed Admiral Coral, watching from the control room. "This is not standard tactical doctrine." "It's not tactical at all," replied General Thrak. "It's primitive." But primitive or not, it was working. The assault team was taking heavy casualties from an enemy they couldn't see or predict. Every street corner became a potential ambush. Every building could hide a sniper or an improvised explosive. The Zephyrian cadets were becoming frustrated. Their careful calculations meant nothing when the enemy refused to follow expected patterns. They called for the humans to return to proper formations, but the humans were already 3 steps ahead. Lisa had found the enemy command post, a Nereid's mobile tank that was coordinating the assault. Instead of attacking it directly, she had spent 20 minutes carefully placing small charges around the building's foundation. When she detonated them, the building partially collapsed, trapping the command tank under debris Kevin had been tracking individual enemy soldiers through the city's drainage system. He would appear behind them, eliminate them with quick, silent attacks, and then vanish before anyone could respond. The assault team was losing soldiers without ever seeing their attacker. Jake had turned the city's public transportation system into a weapon. He had rigged several buses to move on timer systems, creating moving obstacles that disrupted enemy formations and provided mobile cover for his teammates. "This is chaos," Vexgall complained. "They are not following any recognizable strategy." "Maybe that's the point," said another Zephyrian cadet. "Maybe unpredictability is their strategy." After 6 hours of simulation, the assault team surrendered. They had lost 80% of their forces while failing to eliminate a single human. The defending Zephyrian cadets had also taken heavy casualties, but they had at least managed to survive by following the humans' lead. "How did you do that?" asked Thogmar after the simulation ended. He had been one of the first casualties. "Do what?" Jake replied. "Turn the city into a weapon. Use things that weren't meant to be weapons." "Everything is a weapon if you use it right," Lisa said. "We just looked at what was available and figured out how to use it." "But there are rules," protested a Nereids cadet. "Proper procedures, accepted methods. Rules are made by people who aren't trying to kill you," Kevin said. "The enemy won't follow your rules." The second scenario was even more challenging. The humans were assigned to defend a fortified position against overwhelming odds. The academy instructors expected them to use proper defensive tactics, man the walls, coordinate fire zones, and hold the position at all costs. Instead, the humans abandoned the fort entirely. Where are they going? General Thrak demanded as he watched the humans disappear into the surrounding forest. "They have left the objective," reported a monitoring technician. "Should we declare them eliminated?" "No," said Dr. Kelthera. "Let's see what they do." What they did was wage a guerrilla war that made the simulation designers reconsider their entire program. The humans turned the surrounding forest into a maze of traps and ambushes. They made resupply impossible by attacking every convoy. They made communication difficult by jamming enemy signals from hidden locations. The attacking force held the empty fort for 3 days, while the humans conducted operations that slowly destroyed their ability to fight. Morale collapsed as soldiers began to refuse patrol duty. Equipment failures mounted as the humans sabotaged supply lines. On the 4th day, the attacking force surrendered without the humans ever engaging in a single direct battle. "They didn't just win," Admiral Coral observed. "They made war itself afraid of them." In the debriefing room, the alien cadets sat in stunned silence. They had studied every military manual, memorized every tactical formation, and learned every proper procedure. But none of it had prepared them for an enemy that ignored all the rules. "How do we fight against something like that?" asked a young Vraxian cadet. "You don't," Jake replied simply. "You either join them or you stay out of their way." The other human cadets nodded in agreement. They had all been taught the same lessons since childhood: adapt, improvise, overcome. Use whatever works. Ignore what doesn't. Never fight fair if you can help it. "Your species has an interesting approach to warfare," General Thrak said carefully. "Our species has an interesting approach to survival," Lisa corrected. "War is just survival with more people involved." That night, the academy instructors held an emergency meeting. They had witnessed something unprecedented, a species that didn't just fight wars, but changed the very nature of warfare itself. "We need to study their home world," Dr. Kelthera said. "We need to understand what created these beings. Are you sure we want to understand?" Admiral Coral asked. "Some knowledge is dangerous." "We already have them here," General Thrak replied. "The knowledge is no longer optional." The next morning, the Academy announced that all future war games would include new rules designed to address unconventional tactics. But everyone knew the real lesson. The humans had shown them that there was more to warfare than calculations and procedures, that there was something prim. Dr. Kelthera stood in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from across the galaxy. The Zephyrian scientist had spent 3 sleepless days analyzing everything the Academy had learned about the human cadets. What she had discovered made her crystalline body flicker with something that might have been fear. "Computer, display Earth environmental data," she commanded. The hologram shifted to show a blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. The initial view looked peaceful, even beautiful. But as Dr. Kelthera began to examine the details, the true horror became clear. Atmospheric composition: 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, with trace gases. She paused, checking her calculations. "Computer, confirm oxygen levels." Confirmed. Earth's atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. Dr. Kelthera's body went completely dark for a moment. She had hoped the readings were wrong. An atmosphere with that much oxygen was essentially a bomb waiting to explode. Most species in the galaxy breathed air with less than 5% oxygen. Higher concentrations were toxic, corrosive, and incredibly dangerous. How did they not burn alive? She whispered. She pulled up more data. Gravitational force, 1.2 times galactic standard. That explained why the humans moved so easily in the Academy's lighter gravity. They had trained their entire lives under conditions that would crush most other species. Atmospheric pressure, 1.0 standard. Normal pressure, but combined with the toxic oxygen levels, it meant the humans were living in an environment that would kill most galactic species within minutes. Temperature range, -89 degrees Celsius to +58 degrees Celsius. Dr. Kelthera stared at the numbers. The temperature variations alone would be fatal to most life forms. How did anything survive in such extreme conditions? Seismic activity, high. Volcanic activity, moderate. Severe weather patterns, frequent. The planet wasn't just dangerous. It was actively trying to kill everything that lived on it. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts. The list of natural disasters was longer than the safety protocols for most galactic colonies. Computer, display Earth's biological data. What appeared next made Dr. Kelthera step backward. The planet was covered with life forms, but they were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Everything seemed designed to kill everything else. Apex predators, multiple species. Venomous creatures, widespread. Parasitic organisms, common. Bacterial infections, numerous and varied. She focused on a few examples. Great white sharks, aquatic predators with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Grizzly bears, land predators weighing over 400 kilograms. Poison dart frogs, tiny creatures, whose skin could kill larger animals. Malaria, a microscopic parasite that had killed millions of humans throughout their history. How did they survive this? She asked aloud. The answer came as she studied human evolution. They hadn't just survived. They had thrived. They had become the apex predator of a planet full of apex predators. They had learned to use tools, organize into groups, and adapt to any environment. Computer, display human military history. The hologram showed thousands of years of constant warfare. Humans had fought each other across every continent, in every environment, using every available weapon. They had developed strategies for fighting in deserts, forests, mountains, urban areas, and even underwater. They never stopped fighting. Dr. Kelthera realized, even when they weren't at war with their environment, They were at war with each other. She pulled up records of human conflicts. World wars involving millions of soldiers. Guerrilla campaigns lasting decades. Siege warfare that destroyed entire cities. Nuclear weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They developed weapons that could kill their own species, she whispered, but the most disturbing discovery was how they fought. Human military doctrine emphasized adaptation, improvisation, and psychological warfare. They didn't just try to defeat their enemies. They tried to break their will to fight. Computer, analyze human cadet performance during academy exercises. The data showed patterns that made Dr. Kelthera's crystalline structure vibrate with anxiety. The humans consistently ignored established military doctrine. They turned everyday objects into weapons. They used their environment as a force multiplier. They fought with a combination of intelligence and brutality that was unprecedented in galactic history. They don't just fight wars, she said. They make war itself afraid of them. A chime indicated that someone was requesting entry to her laboratory. Dr. Kelthera composed herself and opened the door to find Admiral Coral in her mobile water tank, accompanied by General Thrack. Dr. Kelthera, Admiral Coral said through her translation device, "We need to discuss your findings." "What findings?" Dr. Kelthera asked, though she knew exactly what they meant. "Your research into the human home world," General Thrack said. "The Academy instructors are concerned about what we're dealing with." Dr. Kelthera gestured to the holographic displays. "What we're dealing with is a species that evolved on a planet that makes our most dangerous environments look like vacation destinations." Admiral Coral's large eyes studied the Earth data. "This can't be accurate. No planet could support complex life under these conditions." "The data is correct," Dr. Kelthera replied. "Earth is what we would classify as a Class X death world, the most dangerous category in our system." "But they developed space travel," General Thrack protested. "They have art, culture, philosophy. They can't be mere survivors." "They're not mere survivors," Dr. Kelthera said. "They're the ultimate survivors. They took a planet that was trying to kill them and turned it into a garden. They did this by becoming the most successful predator in their planet's history." She activated a new holographic display showing human achievements. Cities built in deserts, underwater, and in frozen wastelands. Farms that fed billions of people. Medicine that had eliminated diseases that had killed millions. "They didn't just survive their world," she continued. "They conquered it. They turned every challenge into an opportunity, every threat into a tool." "What does this mean for us?" Admiral Coral asked. Dr. Kelthera's body dimmed. "It means we've been training warriors from a warrior species. We've been teaching soldiers to beings who were born soldiers. We've been trying to educate predators who are already perfect predators." General Thrack's scales shifted to a darker color. "Are you saying they're dangerous?" "I'm saying they're the most dangerous thing in the galaxy," Dr. Kelthera replied. "But they're also the most valuable." She pulled up records from the Academy's combat simulations. "Look at their performance. They consistently defeat larger, better-equipped forces. They adapt to any situation. They turn disadvantages into advantages. They cheat," General Thrack said. "They win," Dr. Kelthera corrected. "They don't follow our rules because our rules weren't designed for their kind of warfare." Admiral Coral floated closer to the displays. "What kind of warfare is that?" "Total warfare," Dr. Kelthera replied. "They fight with everything they have, using everything available, against everything that threatens them. They don't just fight other armies. They fight the concept of defeat itself." The three officers stood in silence, studying the data. The implications were staggering. If humans were this effective as individual cadets, what would they be like as a unified military force? "We need to make a decision," General Thrack said finally. "Do we continue their training, or do we find a way to send them home? We can't. Send them home, Admiral Coral said. They're already here. They've already seen our capabilities and our weaknesses. Then we have two choices, Dr. Kelthera said. We can try to control them, or we can try to ally with them. Control them? General Thrak laughed bitterly. Did you see the war games? They made our best tactical doctrine look like children's games. Then we ally with them, Admiral Coral said. We make sure they're fighting with us, not against us. Dr. Kelthera nodded. That's what I would recommend. Because if we make enemies of them, we'll learn exactly why their planet tried so hard to kill them and failed. The next day, Dr. Kelthera requested permission to address the entire academy. The main auditorium was packed with cadets from every species, along with all the instructors and senior officers. The 3 human cadets sat in their usual section, unaware that they were about to become the subject of the most important lecture in galactic military history. Fellow beings, Dr. Kelthera began, her crystalline body pulsing with nervous energy. Today I want to discuss the concept of evolutionary pressure and its effect on military capability. She activated the holographic display, showing various planets from across the galaxy. Most of our species evolved on what we call garden worlds. Stable climates, moderate gravity, breathable atmospheres. Our biggest challenges were finding food and avoiding the occasional predator. The display shifted to show the Zephyrian home world, a beautiful planet of crystal formations and gentle breezes. My species developed intelligence to solve complex problems. We learned to work together, to build sophisticated societies, to think our way out of difficulties. Next came the Vraxian home world, a warm, humid planet covered in forests. The Vraxians developed physical strength to overcome obstacles. They learned to organize into hierarchies, to coordinate group efforts, to build impressive structures. The Nereid's ocean world appeared, showing. 6 months later, the graduation ceremony at the Galactic Military Academy was unlike any in its 1,000-year history. Representatives from every major species in the Federation had come to witness something unprecedented, the commissioning of the first human officers in galactic service. The great auditorium of Kepler Station buzzed with anticipation. Zephyrian crystals chimed with nervous energy. Vraxian scales shifted colors with excitement. Nereids clicked rapidly in their water tanks. Even the usually calm ethereals had sent observers from their distant star systems. Jake Martinez stood, with his fellow human graduates, wearing the new uniform that had been specially designed for their species. The fabric was lighter than what other species wore, accounting for their higher bone density and muscle mass. The insignia were simpler, reflecting their preference for practical over ceremonial designs. Lisa Thompson checked her equipment one final time. She had been assigned to command the Federation frigate New Horizon, the first vessel ever commanded by a human officer. The appointment had caused considerable debate in the Federation Council, but her academy performance had made her the obvious choice. Kevin Brooks wore the distinctive patch of the Special Operations Division. 3 different species had competed to recruit him, but he had chosen to work with a joint task force that handled the most dangerous missions in Federation space. His instructors had warned him that the job had a high casualty rate. Kevin had just smiled and said it sounded interesting. Admiral Zethquar, a distinguished ethereal who served as the Academy's director, moved to the podium. The ethereals were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, and their words carried significance. Wait. Today, Admiral Zethquar began, his translated voice echoing through the auditorium. We commission not just new officers, but representatives of a completely new approach to military service. The Admiral gestured toward the human graduates. 6 months ago, these beings arrived at our academy from a world we barely understood. We expected to teach them our methods, our strategies, our way of thinking about warfare. A ripple of amusement passed through the alien audience. Everyone knew how that had worked out. Instead, the Admiral continued, they taught us. They showed us that our assumptions about combat, survival, and military effectiveness were based on limited experience. They demonstrated capabilities we had never imagined possible. In the audience, Dr. Kelthera's crystal body pulsed with pride. Her research into human capabilities had led to major changes in academy curriculum. Other species were now being taught human techniques like improvised weapon construction, environmental adaptation, and psychological warfare. But more importantly, Admiral Zethkor said, they showed us something about ourselves. They showed us that we had become comfortable, predictable, and perhaps a little soft. General Thrak nodded from his seat in the front row. The Vraxian military had already begun incorporating human training methods into their basic instruction. Other species were following suit. The humans forced us to ask difficult questions, the Admiral continued. Are we prepared for threats we haven't anticipated? Can we adapt to challenges we haven't studied? Do we have the will to keep fighting when our careful plans fail? Admiral Corral translated these words for her fellow Nereids. The aquatic species had been particularly impressed by human resilience. Several Nereids colonies had requested human advisors to help with their defense planning. Today, we commissioned 12 human officers into Federation service, Admiral Zethkor announced. But we also commission a new era of military thinking. These officers will serve not just as commanders and specialists, but as teachers and examples. The ceremony proceeded with a traditional oath-taking. Each graduate stepped forward to receive their commission and assignment. But when the humans took their oaths, something different happened. I swear to defend the Federation and its member species, Jake said clearly. I swear to adapt, improvise, and overcome any challenge. I swear to never surrender, never give up, and never leave a fellow being behind. The alien officers in the audience recognized the additions to the standard oath. The humans had included their own cultural values, the same values that had helped them survive their death world and excel at the academy. When the formal ceremony ended, the real celebration began. For the first time in academy history, the different species mingled freely, sharing stories and comparing experiences. The humans found themselves surrounded by curious aliens asking questions about Earth, human culture, and their unique approach to problem solving. Is it true that your species developed nuclear weapons before you achieved spaceflight? Asked a young Zephyrian officer. Yes, Lisa replied. We had the ability to destroy our own planet before we had the ability to leave it. That seems dangerous, the Zephyrian observed. Everything about our development was dangerous, Kevin said. That's what made us good at handling danger. A Vraxian cadet approached Jake with what appeared to be nervousness. Could you teach me the technique you used in the urban combat exercise? The one where you turned the transportation system into a weapon? Sure, Jake replied. But first you need to understand the basic principle. Everything is a potential weapon, if you think about it correctly. Across the room, Admiral Zethkor was deep in conversation with several Federation Council members who had attended the ceremony. Are you certain this is wise? Asked Councillor Vexton, a senior Zephyrian politician. These humans are unpredictable. That's exactly why it's wise, the Admiral replied. Predictability is a weakness in military affairs. The humans have shown us strength through adaptability. But they ignore established protocols, protested Councillor Morgak, a Vraxian representative. They ignore protocols that don't work, Admiral Coral interjected, floating over in her mobile tank. There's a difference. Dr. Kelthera approached the group, her crystalline body bright with excitement. The preliminary reports from the colonies that have requested human advisors are remarkable. Crime rates are down. Emergency response times have improved Military readiness has increased significantly. How? Asked Counselor Vexton. The humans teach what they call situational awareness, Dr. Kelthera explained. They help other species notice problems before they become crises. They teach adaptation techniques that work in unpredictable situations. And most importantly, Admiral Zethquar added, they teach the will to keep fighting when everything seems hopeless. A conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the station's communication system. Attention all personnel. We have received distress. Signal from the Kepler mining colony. They are under attack by unknown raiders. All available ships are requested to respond. The auditorium fell silent. Kepler mining colony was only 2 hours away at maximum speed, but the nearest Federation patrol ships were at least 6 hours out. By the time help arrived, the colony could be destroyed. I can be there in 90 minutes, Lisa said, stepping forward. The New Horizon is already prepared for departure. Lieutenant Thompson, Admiral Zethquar said carefully, this would be your first command mission. Perhaps a more experienced officer should lead the response. With respect, Admiral, Lisa replied. Experience is what you get when you don't die from inexperience. The colony needs help now, not after a committee meeting. Jake and Kevin moved to stand beside her. Request permission to join the mission. Jake said, as what? Asked the Admiral. You haven't been assigned to her ship. As whatever she needs us to be, Kevin replied. That's what humans do. We adapt to the situation. Admiral Zethquar looked around the auditorium. Every alien officer present was watching to see what would happen. This was the first real test of human leadership in Federation service. Permission granted, the Admiral said. But Lieutenant Thompson, you will be personally responsible for the outcome. Understood, Admiral, Lisa replied. I wouldn't want it any other way. As the 3 humans left to prepare their ship, the alien officers in the auditorium began talking among themselves. Some expressed concern about sending inexperienced humans into combat. Others pointed out that the humans had never lost a combat. Exercise at the Academy. 1 hour later, reports began coming in from Kepler mining colony. The raiders had been expecting easy prey, a civilian installation with minimal defenses. Instead, they had encountered a Federation warship commanded by someone who fought like the universe itself was trying to kill her. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The raiders' ships were either destroyed or fleeing toward the edge of the system. The colony was safe, its defenders were alive, and the Federation had its first confirmed example of human combat effectiveness in real-world conditions. When the New Horizon returned to Kepler Station, the 3 humans were greeted as heroes. But they seemed more interested in analyzing what had gone right and what could be improved next time. How did you defeat them so quickly? Asked a Zephyrian officer. We didn't fight them the way they expected, Lisa replied. They were prepared for a standard Federation response, orderly, predictable, by the book. Instead, we gave them chaos. We made them more afraid of us than we were of them, Jake added. And we never stopped moving forward, Kevin concluded. The moment you start retreating, you've already lost. In the weeks that followed, requests for human officers came.